Hey folks, welcome back to the Leeds Gamer. It's FA Cup third round this weekend. So I thought I'd jump on the old proverbial bandwagon and put out some predictions. I'm not going to do scores, I'm just going to say who I think's going to go through and who's going to get knocked out. So effectively I'm just going to highlight in green which team is going to win each match. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each fixture, so we'll just get straight to it. First one, Wolves versus Shrewsbury. Now, if this had been a few weeks ago, when Wolves couldn't buy a win or a draw to save their lives, I would have said Shrewsbury could pull an upset here. But Wolves' recent form has picked up. There is the caveat that Wolves may put out a weakened squad because of the fact that their priority has to be to try and somehow get the miracle escape of all miracle escapes and avoid relegation. But I just think that Wolves' second team should still be good enough to beat Shrewsbury. And with Wolves' recent improvement in form, I think and with them being at home, albeit Molyneux's not been a happy stomping ground this season, has it really? But I'm just going to give Wolves the edge on this one. If I was to give a score prediction, 2-1. But I would definitely not count Shrewsbury out of that one. They might even hold Wolves to maybe a 1-1 and take it to penalties or something like that. And if it goes to penalties, maybe Shrewsbury get through. But I just feel that, Wolves have just had an upturn in form recently. If Wolves hadn't had that upturn, I'd be going Shrewsbury all day long. Because, regardless of what's happening with Shrewsbury in their division, Wolves, until about 3 matches ago, were absolutely pants. So, yeah, there we go. Doncaster Rovers versus Southampton. Now, Southampton aren't having the best of seasons, are they? They sacked still, didn't they? Then again, Doncaster are struggling a little bit, but it is at now. What's their ground? Is it the Keepmoat, or is that Rotherham's? I've forgotten now. Now Doncaster, I don't think are doing that great because they've sent Charlie Crew back to Leeds, or Leeds have recalled Charlie Crew from his loan at Doncaster, and I think they might be struggling a bit. I'm going to give Southampton the edge, but I do think that Doncaster could pull an upset there. But I'll give Southampton the edge on that one. This next one's a bit of a boring fixture, really, because it's two teams in the same division. I don't like it when you get teams in the same division in a cup match. Tottenham versus Villa. Villa's having a great season. Tottenham aren't. It's that simple. But which squad has the better depth? Because I'm kind of thinking here that neither of these two teams are going to want to put out their first 11, are they? Villa are going to be wanting to get Champions League. Tottenham are just going to want to get themselves into the top half the way things are going at the moment. Close one. I'm just going to go with form, and I'll just go with Villa on this one, but Tottenham being at home could easily get the result. Port Vale versus Fleetwood. I don't know how either of these two are getting on this season. So I've gone with two away teams so far, so let's go with the home team on this one. So we'll say Port Vale, but there's no research gone into that one. I'm just going with home advantage on that one. Preston versus Wigan. Kind of a northwest derby, if you like. I could be wrong, but I think Preston are having a good season this season, aren't they? So this could be difficult for Wigan, but it depends on Preston's squad depth. They've never had the biggest squad in the Championship, and I don't know how Wigan are getting on in their division. I mean, I would expect Wigan are doing okay in their division. I'd say Wigan have a chance in this one, but Preston are having a good season from what I've heard, so I'll go with Preston. Ipswich versus Blackpool. I think Ipswich have gotten over their little blip that they had at within the first half of the season. They seem to be pressing a bit higher now, so Blackpool, again, I'd expect them to be doing okay in their division, but they are a division below, so I'll go with Ipswich. Wrexham versus Forest. Now then, Forest are having a bad season by all accounts and find themselves only one place above the relegation zone, and Wrexham, after a shaky start in the Championship, seem to be finding their feet a little bit. So you know what, and with it having that little bit of home advantage, I'm going to say this could be the first. Is this the first upset that I'm going with? Yeah, I'm going to go with the upset here, because I think Wrexham will put their best team out for that one. And I'm not so sure that Forest will, because Forest's priority has to be to stay in the division. They're only one place above the relegation zone, so I'm going to go with Wrexham on that one. Next, we've got a London derby between Charlton and Chelsea. Chelsea's just got too much squad depth. I mean, they're not having an amazing season, but and again, Charlton's priority is to stay in the Championship. So, yeah, I'm not ruling it out for Charlton, because Chelsea's obviously only just got Rosenior in just very, very recently. But this is, if anything, this is a chance for Rosenior to have a look at his squad, isn't it? In a match that, allows Premier League teams to maybe play their second 11, if you like. So while I think this match will be beneficial for Chelsea, but being at the Valley, Charlton's ground, that'll be a game. I think Charlton will give Chelsea a bit of a battle there. Man City against Exeter. There's just too much of a gulf. Man City could put their third 11 out and probably beat Exeter. That's no disrespect to Exeter. The squad depth at City is just far too big. Far too big. Another London derby, West Ham versus QPR. You know what? I'm going to go for another upset. West Ham are having a shocking season. I know they've just spent, close enough to 50 million on two new attackers, but I'm going to go for the upset with that one. Sheffield Wednesday versus Brentford. Got to go with Brentford. Brentford's form is, they're having a very good season somehow, and Sheffield Wednesday aren't. So I can't go for the upset on that one. Fulham versus Middlesbrough. Now Middlesbrough, they were doing quite well under Edwards, and then he left to go to Wolves, didn't he? I think they're still doing all right, but Fulham are having a decent season themselves. So yeah, I think Fulham. That's one that could go to extra time or penalties or whatever it's going to be after the 90 minutes. I think Middlesbrough will give Fulham a game without a doubt, but I am going to edge it with Fulham being at Craven Cottage. But could be very close. Everton versus Sunderland. Sunderland's form hasn't been great. Everton are really in the middle. Both teams don't score or concede a lot. This one really could go to to penalties. Very much so. I think it'll be a very low scoring affair. I think either 0-0 or 1-1 at full time. I'll give it Everton just because I think they're at home. Brand spanking new stadium and all that jazz. Liverpool Barnsley. Now I'd love for Barnsley to get an upset here. But do I see it? No. Unfortunately not. I can't see an upset there. Sorry, Barnsley, but I hope you do them. I hope you stuff them. I really do. Callum Fowler will be. He'll be up for that one, won't he? Being a Barnsley fan. Obviously, there's a Leeds connection there. Neil Redfern, he was a captain and player for Barnsley back in the day, wasn't he? And then obviously became a youth coach. In fact, well, no, he managed the first team briefly, did Redfern, at Leeds, quite some time ago now. Burnley Millwall. Burnley's form is poop. They're struggling this season. And Millwall, always traditionally a nasty team to play against. Albeit that's more when it's at Millwall. If this fixture had been at the Den, I would have comfortably gone Millwall. At Turf Moor, bit of you know what though? I'm still gonna go with it. Burnley's form is really poor. Like they're not playing well this season. So go on Millwall. Stuff them. What we got next? Norwich versus Walsall. Now, if I remember rightly, Norwich are having a bit of a dodgy season, aren't they? And again, I could be wrong, but I think Walsall are actually having a decent one, aren't they? I could be wrong. But with that in mind, I'm going to say an upset. I'm going to say Walsall beat Norwich here. Norwich on paper at Carrow Road really should win that one, but if Norwich are having a dodgy season, and I think Walsall might be having a good one, I don't know if I've seen that right. I don't know if it was this season's table or last season's table. I think maybe Walsall are near the top of their division. So based on form and momentum and confidence, even though Walsall are away, I think they could pull an upset. Portsmouth versus Arsenal. Even though it's Portman Road's Ipswich, isn't it? Fratton Park. Is Portsmouth Fratton Park? I think it might be. I've still got to go with Arsenal. The squad depth is just going to be ridiculous, isn't it? Really. But there'll be a good following for Portsmouth there. They tend to get good attendances there and quite a noisy crowd, don't they? So yeah, all good. So I don't think it'll be a complete walkover for Arsenal, but I think you can't bet against them really at the moment. The top of the Premier League. Leeds derby. I anticipate that Leeds will play their second 11, or as close to it as they can do. Any of the players that haven't played regular for Leeds this season, should really feature if they're available to be picked. And I think, I did do a match preview for this one on a different video, and I just think Leeds' squad's just too strong for Derby, really. Even if Derby put out the 11 that's played the most this season, and they might not, but then again, Derby might see it as a big scalp. Leeds away from home this season haven't been amazing, but they have just gone through the absolute mill with Newcastle at St James's. So performance-wise, Leeds are playing a bit better away from home. It's not a massive distance to travel either. Just going from West Yorkshire down to the Midlands. So I'm back in Leeds. If Leeds were to lose that game, I wouldn't be that devastated about it because the priority is for Leeds is to stay in the Premier League. But yeah, that's that. Not going to dwell on it. As I say, I've done a full match preview for Leeds versus Derby. Wendy, you're going to knack up my monitors here, girl. Oi! Don't claw at me. She's busting her luck, is that girl? So yeah. What we got next? It's another boring one. Swansea versus West Brom. I say boring because they're in the same division. I don't even know who's having the best season, but I know West Brom's just sacked Mason, haven't they? I don't rate Mason. I really don't. I really don't rate him as a manager at all. Just with the fact they've got home advantage. Is it Liberty Stadium Swansea's at these days? I remember the days when they were at the Vetch Field. I think they were at the Vetch, weren't they? Yeah, I'll go with Swansea. Salford versus Swindon. They might be in the same division as well. I'm going to say Swindon because they had players like Fraser Digby. I think they had Jan Aga Fjortoff. And Nicky Hammond, their backup goalkeeper at the time, he's been on the Leeds board before now, so I'm going to go Swindon. Ha! There we go. Plus Salford's got links to Menier, and we don't like that. Go on, Swindon. Take out those Salfordians. Knock them out. Boreham Wood versus Burton Albion. Right, so this is National League versus League One, I think. But Boreham Wood are at home. You know what? I'm gonna call upset. I think Boreham Wood played against my local team Halifax recently. I think Halifax might have beaten them actually. And yet I think if I remember right, I think Boreham Wood might be in the playoffs at the minute. So yeah, I'll go for the upset. Why not? Boreham Wood. Grimsby versus Weston-super-Mare. Now, as much as I admire Grimsby for knocking out Manure in the most humiliating circumstances ever, that was so satisfying to watch. It's Weston-super-Mare. They must be the lowest ranked out of this bunch. They've got to be, haven't they? So yeah, let's say that Weston-super-Mare beat Grimsby. And then Weston-super-Mare get drawn at Elland Road. How cool would that be for WSM? And that stands for World's Strongest Man, doesn't it? Oh, there you go. Go on, Weston-super-Mare, pull an upset. I don't think that drawing Grimsby was the draw they really wanted, was it, to be honest? All these bigger teams in there. No disrespect to Grimsby, but there is a little bit of a nice aspect to it because ultimately Grimsby knocked out Manure, didn't they? So it's quite a nice touch. But yeah, we'll go with Weston-super-Mare on that one. Another boring one because they're in the same division. Hull versus Blackburn. They're at home. I don't know if Joffy Gallart's going to be available for Hull, but they've got De Bayo as well now, haven't they? They've just signed James De Bayo on a free. I think De Bayo could be a useful young defender for Hull, so yeah, I'll go Hull. Why not? Another boring one. It's an all Premier League clash. Newcastle versus Bournemouth. Newcastle are having a better season than Bournemouth are. I didn't think Newcastle were that great against Leeds. I really don't. There were times when the Newcastle defence was really spaced out, really wide open. And Bournemouth are conceding a lot of goals. I think they've conceded 40 goals this season. I'll go with Newcastle. I mean, I would imagine there might be a bit of squad rotation for both teams there, quite frankly, but then again, maybe there might not be if both of them think that winning the cup might be achievable. Who knows? MK Dons versus Oxford. Oxford are having a poor season. I think MK Dons might be having a good season at the minute, but the MK Stadium or MK Arena or whatever the hell they call it, it's a bloody graveyard, isn't it? Nobody attends the damn thing. So I'll go with Oxford, but I wouldn't put it based on form for the season. I wouldn't put it past MK for having a chance of beating Oxford. But Oxford, as I say, I think they're having a bit of a poor one. Cheltenham versus Leicester. I don't think Leicester are having that great a season from what I can remember. And Cheltenham are at home, but surely Leicester will have too much from. Surely they'll have too much. I'll go Leicester. Cambridge versus Birmingham. Again, Birmingham, I don't... Oh, shoot! I've clicked the wrong thing. I didn't highlight them. Oops. 1 second, folks. Sorry about that. Oh, piffle. Right, hold on. Right, shall we try this again? Better. Right. Sorry about that. Right. I don't usually use the word piffle. Where did that come from? Anyway, what we got next? Yeah, Cambridge, Birmingham, similar to Leicester, Cheltenham. Surely Birmingham have too much squad depth. I mean, again, with the amount of money they've spent in recent times, it's got to be Birmingham, surely. But again, for both of those two, they're away from home against, relatively tight, small grounds. Maybe that goes in Cheltenham and Cambridge's favour. I won't put it past it. I won't put it past a couple of upsets there, but just for the squad depth, difference there. Bit of a boring one. Bristol City versus Watford. I think Watford are actually having a decent season, aren't they? And Bristol not quite as good as they were last season. So, yeah, you know what? I'll go with Watford on that one. Again, just based on what I think it might be the form guide. Stoke versus Coventry. I mean, Coventry's nearly top at league, aren't they? But Stoke are actually doing a lot better than what they usually do. But again, another boring fixture, really. I'll go Coventry. I don't like Lampard. Never liked him. Disrespectful little prick, quite frankly. Yeah, I'll go with Coventry on that just because I think they're higher up the table. Macclesfield against Crystal Palace. I mean, Palace's form recently, pretty much since when they lost to Leeds 4-1, Palace's form has actually been really poor. And it is at Macclesfield, but surely Palace have just got too much squad depth. Surely they've got too much depth. Next one. Gotta go Brighton. Obvious reasons. Next. And finally, we've got there. The Blunts versus Mansfield Town. Now, Sheffield United started the season dreadfully, didn't they? They were down at bottom 3 along with their Sheffield counterparts Wednesday. But since signing former Leeds United striker Patrick Bamford, all of a sudden they look half decent. And so for that reason, I think some consecutive away predictions here. And I'm going to go with the home team here, Bramall Lane. So there we go. And that completes my predictions, folks, for the third round of the FA Cup. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think I'm on the money with these? Do you think I'm a bit bonkers with the fact I've gone for quite a few away wins there? Do Do you think there could be more upsets? Who knows? But with all of this in mind, do please give the video a like, do please hype the video, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. See you next time. Bye for now.